Okay, let's review the future tense. The future simple in English has two common forms, will and going to. Most of the time, you can use either one, but it may change the meaning. Both refer to a specific time in the future, and most often, something factual. You can use will with voluntary actions or promises. You can use going to with plans. You can use both of these for predictions. The future continuous tense is used to talk about an action or event that is not yet finished, but will be in progress sometime in the future. It has several purposes. It is often used to talk about future projections. For example, by this time next week, I will be relaxing on a beach. It's also used to predict or guess about future events. For example, you'll be missing this food when you move abroad. We use it to ask politely for information about the future. Will you be going to the party tonight? We use it to refer to ongoing events that we expect will happen. Example, since she is a French major, she will be studying abroad in Paris for a semester. We use it to refer to events that will be still happening at some point in the future. Example, in an hour, I'll still be cleaning the bathroom. The future perfect tense is used to describe an action that is completed or will be completed at a specific point in the future. If the action doesn't have a deadline stated, the future perfect cannot be used. In these cases, the future simple is used. Key phrases: by this time, from now, before, as soon as, when, already. The future perfect continuous tense describes actions that will continue up until a specified point of time in the future. The use of the future perfect continuous tense allows us to project ourselves into the future and to look back at the length an activity occurs. The situation or event may have begun sometime in the past, present, or in the future, but it is expected to continue well into the future. There are two main purposes or functions of the future perfect continuous. Function 1. Duration at a specific moment in the future. When a situation will last for a specified time period at a certain time in the future, and we expect it will last longer, then we use the future perfect continuous. Examples: before they arrive, we will have been cooking for 7 hours. Next year, we will have been living together for 5 years. Function 2. Cause of a situation in the future. When we want to express certainty that something is the cause of a future situation, we will also use the future present perfect. Example: Sam will be exhausted when he gets here because he will have been driving for 10 hours. It is important to remember that only action verbs can be used in the future perfect continuous. Non-action verbs, such as to be, to seem, and to know, will instead use the future perfect to express similar ideas. For example, it is incorrect to say, I will have been knowing you for 10 years this fall. Instead, since this includes the verb to know, the correct way is, I will have known you for 10 years this fall. Common time expressions used with the future perfect continuous are by tomorrow, this year, or this month, this week, next year, next month, next week, for 10 years, for 5 hours, for a few days, since this morning, since last Friday, since 2001. Future simple. This has two forms, will plus verb. Am is are plus going to plus verb. Will. I will wash the car on Sunday. I will text you when I get home. This winter, there won't be much snow, but there will be plenty of rain. Going to. Next weekend, we are going to go to dinner and then a concert. She's going to be thirsty after she runs that marathon. What are we going to eat for lunch? Note, many times native speakers of English may pronounce going to like gonna. For example, instead of saying, we're going to go to the store, they might say, we're gonna go to the store. The future continuous. You can see the structure below. A subject is a noun, a person, place, thing, or idea, or a pronoun, I, you, he, she, it, we, or they. To be is an auxiliary or helping verb. Examples of positive sentences. I will be waiting excitedly for the new movie to be released. To make a sentence negative, add not to the verb to be. You will not be eating much while in the hospital. Or, you won't be eating much while in the hospital. Or, she won't be eating much while in the hospital. To ask a question in the present continuous, change the order of the verb to be in the subject. Will I be spending any time in Rome? Will they be spending any time in Rome? Future perfect. The future perfect is formed by subject plus will have plus past participle. A past participle is the form of a verb, often ending in ed. There are also several irregular participles such as go to gone, see to seen, be to been, have to had, eat to eaten, drink to drunk. Positive example sentences. I will have been here for 4 years at the end of July. You will have gone to sleep by the time he gets home. She will have finished the job by this time tomorrow. To make a sentence negative, add not after will. I won't have made dinner by 6 p.m. You will not have talked for years until finally talking yesterday at the wedding reception. He will not have called before we leave for the airport. To ask a question with the present perfect, change the order of will in the subject. Will you have changed your opinion before tomorrow? Will we have finished before the other workers arrive? Will he have left before I get there? Explanation for future perfect continuous. The formula for the future perfect continuous is subject plus will plus have, been, verb, and ing. Positive example sentences. She will have been waiting for 2 hours by the time we get out of this traffic jam. I will have been studying Spanish for 20 years when I turn 30. You will have been listening to the news for about 15 minutes by the time I finally get home. To make a sentence negative, add not after will. We will not have been skiing for 12 years when we go on the next year's ski trip. I will not have been sleeping for more than an hour when you get home from work. To ask a question, change the order of will in the subject. Will you have been dating for very long before you get married? Will they have been fighting for months before we find out? Will he have been lying to you all along when he insists he's innocent? Example sentences. We will travel to Europe soon. We will be flying to Europe by this time next month. We will have been to Europe 3 times when we go next. We will have been traveling to Europe annually for 20 years this fall. He will get a doctorate degree. He will be continuing education at another university. He will have studied for 4 years to get his degree when he graduates. He will have been studying medicine for 5 years this spring. Will you wait for me? I will be waiting for you. He will have waited for a year to start his studies. He will have been waiting for 25 minutes when we finally get to the restaurant. Won't you be tired after cleaning all day? You will be feeling exhausted after all of that housework. You will have been exhausted by all of that work, won't you? You will have been sleeping poorly for nights after that bad storm. They'll make up soon, though. They won't be talking for a while. They won't have talked for years until they meet this weekend. They will have been talking about making changes for 4 years this January.